Hello everyone and welcome back to Tarot and Torch. It is so nice to be back with you all and just kind of recapping the month of June and where I am with just my spiritual practice and with life and with tarot. It has been a busy month and I say that every month, I know. But this was really a great kind of culmination point. I finished my second year apprenticeship with my herbalism course, so that is completely done, and now that is going to free up more time for just life and other work that I do. So that was really good, and it did really take a lot of my time because I had to catch up on a lot of things, but it was, of course, extremely rewarding. I love herbalism, I love plants, and it just makes me so happy to learn more about the plants, especially because I've been growing them for years. I've been gardening and, tending to them and growing things from seeds and foraging, and it just it really helps to deepen that practice for me, and it's something that I'm always doing. I'm always learning as I go, but also doing research and experimentation safely, of course, always safely with herbs and plants, but in any case, that took up a lot of my month, and gardening also was a major focus as we're coming into harvest season, and I was doing a lot of fertilizing and weeding and watering and just making sure that everything was well tended to and taken care of, because that's so important leading up to, like, right now we're in a heat wave, so it's so important to make sure that nourishment helps to prepare the plants and keeps them strong and supple during this type of situation. So I was really doing a lot of focus on that, and I had my first little harvests. This month I just harvested my first tomato of the season and a pepper, and the tomato is pretty small. I feel that this year the tomatoes are just going to be small. I'm hoping for a bumper crop of peppers though, and generally speaking they're pretty hardy and they do really well. This year we had a very deep drought. There was a lot of factors kind of affecting gardening this year. Also a cold spring, which made my blueberries drop their blossoms, and just some disappointing things. But what's beautiful about gardening is that even though there's one plant that may be, struggling, not doing well, there's always others that you don't expect to do as well that kind of make up for that. At least, in my garden, I have a lot of perennials, and I also, every year I plant new things, so it's an ongoing kind of harvest situation, and it's never the same garden every year, which is a beautiful thing. So that brings me into and there's a lot of other things too that happened this month, of course. This month began Summerween, which I will be talking about in the next video, because I'm going to do a little bit of a pairing of some decks and books and things, so yeah, that I'll get into that at another point. But so just to kind of talk about the decks that I was really focusing on, of course, this deck was a big focus of the month because it was helping me to kind of ground and really connect to that plant spirit energy, and that's so important, especially as busy as I was and just everything going on. I just felt the need to really connect to Earth even more than I have been. I mean, I could just, you know, disappear into the forest, really, and become local folklore, as they say. So this deck was really nice, really grounding and soothing, also keeping me kind of connected to the astrological energies, which were very potent and intense and heavy in June. And I feel that that was the lead up, the build up to just all of the changes happening, you know, energetically. Like right now we are in Jupiter in Leo, and I don't know about anybody else, but for some reason, when Jupiter, the day that Jupiter transited into Leo, I felt amazing. And which is, maybe it's because I'm a fixed sign, but I wasn't expecting that, and I'm very, you know, happy that that's the case. But even from the moment I opened my eyes, I just felt I felt so much better and so much clearer and happier, and just, I don't know, I feel like we all needed this fiery Leo energy. Let me know if you also, you know, felt that effect or not. But it was just a good feeling. So I'm hoping that we are moving into more lighter and more positive times ahead. One can hope, anyhow. So this deck was just really a nice way to incorporate those things. It always is, but especially during this season of harvest and contemplation in June, and just with the busyness that I had going on, to be able to tap into wisdom in this format was really helpful for me. And I am getting back into healing myself, because I had, a few years ago, I had a lot of issues, and I still have them, of course. Like I'm very anemic, and yet when they tested my iron was incredibly high. So it's my white blood, my blood cells, rather, my red blood cells that are low. And in any case, that was not something that was a problem earlier in my life, but that's one of the issues that herbalism really helped me to be supported in. And I have kind of gotten away from treating myself with my, you know, teas, my tinctures, all the things that I do, just because I've been focusing and pouring that energy into work, into my business, into my education. And so now I'm, you know, the universe is stepping in and very clearly telling me that it's time to heal me, and it's time to get back on that track, not to be distracted, not to let other things take priority. And I feel that that's the Chiron transit in my sign, and that'll do that to you. But it's so important. If you're a healer and you're watching this, if you're a healer, no matter what kind of healer you are, if you're an energetic healer, if you are a medical healer, if you are a caretaker, whatever kind of work that you do, if you are not stopping and treating yourself, I hope that this is just a nudge in that direction to try to do that, and to more consciously incorporate that into your life, even on your busiest of days, because I mean, this is the work. If we're doing what we should be doing for ourselves and giving that to other people all of the time, then we suffer, and then by default so does the ones we want to help. So we need to make sure that we are taking that time, and maybe just any small thing you can do for your health, your healing, your mindset, whatever it may be, just, you know, take that time, please. Because so many things can be preventative as well. So in any case, getting off of that little channeled moment, Uh, I've also been working with the Haunted Cottage Oracle, which, as I mentioned, is a fast favorite that I'm so very happy that I picked up. And this deck is extremely nostalgic for me, as I mentioned before. It really just brings me to a place of memory, of stillness and reflection, which was perfect for June. And it, again, the nature scenery was important and also very healing during June, and just a beautiful way to incorporate that reflective stillness into that month, even though I was busy and doing a lot of other things. And also, it's a way to romance my daily life at the moment, as I'm in nature quite a bit. We did go hiking finally, and also just the scenes in the garden right now are so abundant and green and wild. So, you know, all of these sights and symbols were very fitting for June. And I mean, honestly, I'll still continue to use this deck no matter what season it is. But it did really give me that, you know, contemplative, deep resonance that I needed. So, and I feel that that really also just helped me to kind of just come to terms with a lot of things, you know, just parts of my life that were coming up through like dreams and other manners, just some interesting kind of synchronicities. But it just made me kind of not neglect that shadow part of myself as well. This has been really good for journaling and bringing the feelings out of the depths that I needed to really get into. And so I can go on and on about this one, wax poetic, but let's go on to the next deck. Next, we have the Dark Fantasy Tarot. Getting a little bit kind of into that realm of fairy and fantastical creatures. And J. Edward Neal is a fantastic artist. If you appreciate dark Gothic art, he has beautiful prints that he displays on Instagram and are available for purchase as well. And I just love supporting, you know, small businesses and artists that are a little bit more obscure, but his art is just, it's so incredibly beautiful and very, you know, soulful. So this deck has been just a really nice escape. And also, as I've said, this, you know, the meanings in the cards in this are powerful. And, you know, it's not just art to be attractive. There's a lot behind the artwork, and that's more important to me than just something that looks nice. So the feeling, the energy is all very important when it comes to readings, or else you get more of a flat kind of a reading. At least I do. So these felt energetically alive and gave me some really good, substantial kind of readings with shadow work. And just a lot of exploration of I feel a lot of exploration around kind of other people and what that means in my life, you know, how other people are presenting in my life. And it's a little bit of a checkpoint right now, I feel, energetically, where we're just stopping and taking a look at who's around us, what are their reasons for being in our lives, and what do they bring to our lives, you know, that sort of energy. And also just kind of what we're stepping into with all of this brand new astrological energy too. And this deck does feel like stepping into kind of a new frontier or an unexplored realm that awaits us on the other side of all of the work that we've done. So that's kind of where it took me to those places. You know, I know who I am, but who am I emerging into now? And how has that changed me and my trajectory of life and just all of that kind of thing. Not to get too deep here, but just those sorts of feelings and thoughts. So this is a great one for that, and I find it very useful for stepping into that and being able to do so without kind of preconceived notions or expectations. Another one that I got back out that I don't think I've ever shown this on this channel. This is the Victoria Francis Oracle, and this will be a treat for you if you've never seen it. If you were in the MySpace era, as I was, and were, you know, in that kind of alternative scene, which back then was more just called emo or gothic or any number of those type of words, but this deck brings back all of those beautiful MySpace memories. And I can't tell you, you know, how much I love this deck. And it's one of those that I used almost constantly for a long time and then just kind of put away and sort of forgot about. And, you know, as collectors that can happen. But I was one of those people that lived on MySpace, and my page was another world entirely. And I wrote poetry, I wrote stories, I collected art and music in that time that just affected me on a soul level. And I do miss that. I miss that space of identity and expression and, you know, fantasy and just everything that came along with that. And now these cards are beautiful to look at, but also the meanings in the guidebook are equally powerful. So again, it's not just merely a beautiful picture, although what I like here is that there is no keyword or, you know, writing on there, so you use the number to look up the meaning, or you just use your intuition. But these images are luscious. They're so evocative of a time that was so crucial to my development. And And you know, I was a little bit older back then when MySpace was out and everything, but like I wasn't a child anymore at that point. But this was my kind of most expressive era, where I really, you know, I dressed this way. I had the makeup. You know, I had blue lipstick. I dyed my hair teal, and just a lot of things that I did. I wore purple glittery eyeshadow, which I still do, and black lipstick emerged, and like, you know, all of these things that became very much a part of me, and where I felt I was at my most self-expressive. For a while, I actually wrote horror fiction and sold my books, and that was another era of my life that I'll never forget. And, you know, just another, it feels like lifetimes away from now, but just things that I did that that were just part of an era that is now gone. Although I am pleased to say that I see goth and emo culture coming back, which is beautiful. Although there's a lot of issues in both, you know, more so the goth communities, but I'm pleased to see a bit of a resurgence, because for a while it was a bit stagnant and it was hard to find, you know, items, music, anything really, other than the older music and older items, you know. And like, I would search for gothic, for example, I would search for gothic clothing years ago and could find absolutely nothing that I wanted. But now it's so readily available, and yeah, there's a whole, you know, thing about fast fashion and all of that, but I have always made my own, you know, looks and outfits and styles. But it's nice if you're looking for something extremely specific to go with that, and you can find it. In any case, this is a very, very beautiful, moody, broody deck. If you find yourself in that space of missing that kind of culture, then this is a nice deck to have for that. And I always reach for it when I'm feeling in that kind of space where, you know, I want to write something, I want to feel something, I want to listen to dark, moody music, and, you know, really get involved and in touch with my feelings, and then create something beautiful from that. So that really was my month of June. As I mentioned, there was also a lot of Summerween that I will discuss in the next video for July. And I hope that all of you had a wonderful month of June. I'm excited to see if any of these decks spoke to you, or if you have any of them, or what you enjoyed using during the month. And I will talk with all of you very, very soon.